So I wasn't originally planning on making a video about this until I realized how urgent the whole thing was. I recently got an email from someone about an organized group called The System that consists of 3 YouTube channels named Cave of Shadows, NS0, mnby, and Awake. I have received requests to do analyses on all 3 of these channels before, but I had no idea they were linked until right now, and it would appear that they want me to do an analysis on them. In one of NS0 mnby's videos titled I Saw It Stare, he mentions 2 people that he follows and also gives their initials. The initials are EW and NN. People have concluded that EW stands for Eric Wise, which is my name, and NN stands for Nick Nocturne, which is the name of another YouTuber named Nightmind. I think it's fair to say that these initials do stand for our names, since NS0MNBY does follow me on Twitter, as this video stated. If that's not enough, there was also a file that people found through NS0MNBY that was password protected, and the password is literally Scare Theater Nightmind. So apparently the system wants us to do an analysis on this, so why not? The system consists of 3 YouTube channels, like I said before, so in order to make things easier on myself and to keep the video shorter, I'll be analyzing 1 YouTube channel per video. I'll start with Cave of Shadows, since this one was created first, then I'll do NS0 MNBY, and lastly I'll do Awake. So let's begin with Cave of Shadows. Cave of Shadows was the first of the 3 YouTube channels created in the system, which, by the way, I'm fairly certain is just an ARG. In the past 6 months, there have only been 6 videos uploaded to this YouTube channel so far, but they are pretty interesting. The first video uploaded, titled Welcome to Cave of Shadows, is just a little introductory video about what the channel is about. Most of the information is in the description. It states that Cave of Shadows, which is a recreational broadcasting system, will be broadcasting live every second Friday of the month from 2 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. CST. Each of these broadcasts, as you will see later, have recurring segments that they feature. On the website, you can even rate each segment during their broadcast and give them feedback. The segments in Cave of Shadows' first broadcast are as follows: Introduction and a word from the Overwatcher, You Know More, Mr. Giraffe, Weather Forecast, Relaxation, question mark, and closing remarks. The introduction is essentially just thanking us for watching the broadcast and ends by saying, to show our gratitude, we will now show you this. We're then shown footage of a pixelated forest, and eventually the words, he is watching, are shown for a split second. After this, the second segment of the show, You Know More, begins. For this segment, they just show us a clip from a documentary about a man named Chang Zhu Ping, who was born with an undeveloped twin, which caused his face to be horribly disfigured. It does end happily though, as Chang does end up receiving surgery to make his face look a lot more normal than it did before. The next segment is Mr. Giraffe, and this particular episode was called, What's This? The Mr. Giraffe show just shows a giraffe puppet doing something while the dialogue for his character appears on the screen. The episode is very straightforward. All that happens is that Mr. Giraffe ends up playing with scissors, and then he accidentally kills himself, and then the episode ends. The segment that follows Mr. Giraffe is the weather forecast. This segment literally repeats the same weather forecast on the screen 9 times, but then it cuts off, and we are shown the following text, which is encrypted in base 64. Once you translate it, it says, Hey, it's me. I checked. The Overwatcher stopped watching the broadcast. I need to confirm that this is a good way to communicate privately. We need to wait until the next broadcast to relay any serious information. After this, the weather forecast repeats 9 more times. The following segment is called Relaxation. This one pretty much just pans through a purple forest with strange music in the background while putting words of encouragement up on the screen, such as, You are great, and You are a likable person, and so on and so forth. The final segment of the first broadcast is just named question mark. It just shows a static television while we can hear someone narrating some lines from a poem called A Place for the Bees. After this segment, the closing remarks begin where the audience is just thanked once again for watching the broadcast. Before the broadcast ends, text reading, He is watching, appears on the screen for a split second. One thing I'm sure a lot of people are wondering is who the Overwatcher actually is. I really don't know. All we know is that it seems that he runs these broadcasts, and he also seems to be described as being omniscient in some way. It's also very clear that the encrypted messages we saw during the weather forecast were trying very hard to be hidden from the Overwatcher. He seems to be presented as a villain. The next video on Cave of Shadows is titled Unforeseen Delay. This video is just apologizing that there was a delay for broadcast number 2, but assures us that it will be posted on the 1st of November. However, strangely enough, the second broadcast was actually uploaded on December 19th. The scheduled segments for broadcast number 2 are the same as for broadcast 1, except question mark, and closing remarks are removed, and a few new segments are added, which are called Blank Room, a string of base 64 which translates to Orientation, and the System Fall Celebration Live. The broadcast begins with a special announcement from the Overwatcher. This just depicts footage of a sewer drain with distorted noise in the background. Split-second text appears once again reading, "He sees all," and then the "You know more" segment begins. The episode of You Know More is a lot less interesting than the last one. It just shows footage of a lion attacking a deer. After the lion attack, the next segment of Mr. Giraffe begins. This episode is called Nature Walk. This episode depicts Mr. Giraffe taking a walk, and at the beginning, he tells the viewers that his parents told him to watch out for strangers. He then finds a playground and starts swinging on a swing. At this point, the video cuts to a clip of what looks like tree bark, and at the bottom left corner of the screen, we see text that says, "Forgotten." After this, we're shown a transition telling us that Mr. Giraffe was having so much fun that he forgot to look out for strangers, and this mistake cost him. Mr. Giraffe is then shown with a bloody stick impaling his head, which concludes the episode. Next up is the weather forecast segment, but for some reason, instead of showing us the forecast, it just shows us a screen saying, "Removed by the Overwatcher due to material under investigation." It could be possible that this segment was redacted by the Overwatcher because he discovered the encrypted message in the last weather forecast and wanted to prevent something like that from happening again. The next segment is one of the new ones, and it's fairly interesting. It's called Blank Room with Xavier. Xavier is narrating over this and explaining to us that in this segment, he will invite a viewer to the system to participate in an activity called Somnum. Somnum means sleep in Latin, by the way. At this point, we're shown a video of someone standing in their bedroom. Xavier just tells the person to go over to the bed, and once the person lays down, Xavier just starts to tell us what the person is doing, but several times, Xavier's voice becomes very distorted. Eventually, we are notified that the broadcast is having technical difficulties, and then the segment ends. The next segment is yet again another episode of Relaxation. This one just shows some videos that take place at Disneyland and shows us more words of encouragement such as, "You are important" and "You are valued," very much like the last segment of Relaxation. The next segment, which is called Orientation, just shows someone walking at night, with occasional cuts to a shower. There are many strings of Base 64 in this video. They translate to, "Listen closely. Can you hear it? There are voices in the water. He is watching you. He sees everything." At one point in the segment, we are shown a person wearing a mask with X's over the eyes. This might be the Overwatcher. The final segment of the second broadcast is The System Fall Celebration Live. The segment begins by saying, "And now for the fall celebration." The rest is redacted and replaced with a message saying, "Removed by the Overwatcher due to sensitive material." I have no idea why this was removed. The broadcast ends with the viewers being thanked again, and then we are shown text for a split second that reads, "He sees everything." After this, we are shown a clip of the playground that Mr. Giraffe was filmed at, along with another string of Base 64 that translates to this web address. This website will lead you to the download of a game called Experience 1. Upon starting up the game, it presents us with a screen saying, "Click anywhere to begin." Once you click, you'll be met with a password box. The first password can be discovered on the download page. All you have to do is select everything on the page, and text will be revealed at the bottom left that reads, "Have you forgot the playground? There are secrets." The word "forgot" is in bold because this is the first password. Once you enter the password, the game will begin. All you have to do is use the arrow keys to move into the playground where Mr. Giraffe took place and pick up a dice cube. You then turn around, make your way to a sewer drain where you have to drop the dice. After this, you'll be met with a screen that says, "Press enter to summon him." Once you press enter, the screen goes black and a distorted scream can be heard. After this, the game ends and a picture appears in your browser that says, "He knows where you are now." I was pretty stuck with finding more passwords from here, so I just tried typing in more keywords from the download page. First I tried playground, which didn't work, then I tried secrets, which did work. If you type in secrets for the password, you'll get a blue screen that says, "We have a present for you," but you must go through some more trials to prove your worthiness of the present, of course. Find the 4 pieces and receive your reward. Before the game exits back to the opening screen, it shows us the letters JNVG. They seem meaningless at first, but if you decrypt those letters from Rot 13, it will reveal that they translate to "wait," which is the next password. When you type in "wait" for the password, the game will just show you a picture of a control key. The control key isn't the next password, but rather, it reveals an alternative part of the game. If you type in "forgot" for the password again, and repeat what you did last time with the dice, you'll once again be met with a screen that says, "Press enter to summon him." But if you press the control key instead of the enter key, something else will happen. You'll get a blue screen that misspells "congratulations," and you will also see the number 36. There are a couple of other passwords for the game that I found, but I'll get to those later. The next video uploaded by Cave of Shadows is titled, "Congratulations," but once again, it's misspelled. The video just shows the number 0.087861. So as of now, we have the numbers 36 and 0.087861. I promise these are important, and I'll get to the reason why in a moment. First, I need to cover the last video posted by Cave of Shadows as of now. The final video that Cave of Shadows has posted so far is broadcast number 3. The segments for this broadcast are as follows: introduction and a word from the Overwatcher, You Know More, Mr. Giraffe, weather forecast, storytime, radio, relaxation, and closing remarks. The introduction just states that the Cave of Shadows is no longer able to make money from their broadcast due to advertisements repeatedly playing during the broadcasts. They also say that certain people have crossed the system, and for this reason, some elements have to be removed. And with that, the You Know More segment begins. The episode of You Know More seems to be a parody of a car commercial in which a sock puppet is the car salesman. At one point in the commercial, the puppet stops talking mid-sentence and begins to cry. Text then appears on the screen saying, "Don't make yucky business deals." The next segment of Mr. Giraffe kinda confused me, to be honest. It just shows Mr. Giraffe walking down a sidewalk while the text on the screen tells us that Mr. Giraffe can open his mouth, but he can't make any words because one day he decided to make some special friends at a special showcase, but he forgot to cover his tracks. It ends in the way it usually does by saying, "We all make mistakes, but the one Mr. Giraffe made cost him." Then it shows Mr. Giraffe laying over the same sewer drain we saw in the experience game. After this, the weather forecast segment begins, but just like in the last broadcast, it was removed by the Overwatcher for some reason. The segment that follows this one is actually a new segment called Storytime with NS0MNB. It begins with a woman named Mrs. Shulieri telling us that she'll be narrating a story for us. We are then shown the title card for the first episode of the Storytime. The story she tells us is about a penguin named Penguin who would go on walks all the time, but occasionally he would take a rest to ponder his past mistakes. He has one particular memory that he feels guilty about, in which he went to a baseball game to see a little friend who was up to bat. The story ends by saying that long after the game, Penguin took the boy into the little boy's room to help him, and then the remainder of the story is removed by the Overwatcher.
Memories are so great, don't you agree? Especially Penguin's favorite when long after the game ended, he took him into the little boy's room and helped him.
I don't know about you, but I feel like this part was kind of hinting at some sort of sexual abuse. The next segment is yet again another new segment called Radio. It just plays weird music the whole segment with text up on the screen saying, requires 4xAA. The following segment is one that we're familiar with, Relaxation. This just shows the camera spinning around while strange music plays in the background like usual. However, no words of encouragement come up on the screen like they normally do. At one point, the screen cuts to static, and when it comes back, we are shown the playground that Mr. Giraffe was filmed at, except it's snowing. And we can see the word 3 at the bottom left corner of the screen. The broadcast ends with the viewers being thanked for watching once again, and for a split second we are shown text that reads, "He knows where you are now." In the very last seconds of the video, we are also shown text that says, "Check the experience," which is obviously referring to the game. Remember how earlier we were shown text that said 3 at the bottom left of the screen? This is another password for the game. Typing in this password will open up a YouTube video titled Clue, which just shows 6 numbers on the screen. As you would expect, this is another cipher that simply replaces the letters with their corresponding numbers. This translates to System, which was the last password I was able to find so far. When you type in System as a password, you'll get a blue screen with the number -86. So with what has been gathered so far, we have found 3 numbers from the game, 36.087861 and -86. People have speculated that we actually have to combine 36 and the decimal as one number to make it 36.087861. At this point, we now have 2 numbers which are thought by many to be coordinates. These coordinates lead to a cul-de-sac in Nashville, Tennessee. I really don't know what the significance of this location is, or if it has any significance at all. If anything, I think we're supposed to be getting one more coordinate since one of the messages in the experience game said we must find 4 pieces. Assuming the pieces are numbers, we've only found 3. Maybe the last one will lead us somewhere. And those were the last of the videos by Cave of Shadows so far. Admittedly, I've never watched any of these broadcasts live, but the next broadcast will go live on March 12th, and I will certainly be watching that one live. Cave of Shadows also has a Twitter account where updates and whatnot are posted. Recently, this picture was posted using the same letter to number cipher as the one we saw previously. It translates to new camera, new footage. To conclude the video, I want to point out one thing I also noticed that I found pretty interesting. If you Google search Cave of Shadows, the first thing that shows up is the allegory of the cave, which was an allegory presented by the Greek philosopher Plato. In this allegory, there's a cave where people have been chained up since birth. They are chained in a way so they can only look at the wall. Behind them is a fire which projects shadows onto the wall in front of them. The people chained in this cave perceive shadows as reality since it's the only thing they've ever known. If one of these prisoners were ever freed, they would turn around and see the fire. The light from the fire would hurt their eyes and they would not accept what they were seeing, so they turned back to the shadows which they were accustomed to. If this prisoner were to ever be dragged out of the cave into the sunlight, they'd be blinded by the sunlight, but eventually their eyes would adjust and they would experience a new reality. If they were ever to go back to the cave and rescue the prisoners, he would be blind from the darkness in the cave. The remaining prisoners, seeing this, would assume that the journey must have hurt him, therefore they would not want to leave the cave. In the end, these prisoners would attempt to kill anyone who tried to bring them out of the cave. So this is definitely an interesting and deep allegory, but does it actually have anything to do with the Cave of Shadows? Yes, I know this for a fact. The reason I know this is because of the banner of the Cave of Shadows YouTube channel. They also have the same banner picture on their website. The picture here is hard to see, but it's very clear this picture is just a distorted version of this picture, which is a very common illustration of the allegory of the cave. That's all I have to say on Cave of Shadows right now. I know there are probably some things I didn't mention that link this to NS0, mnby, and Awake, but you have to keep in mind I haven't even looked at those other two channels yet. My next analysis will be on NS0, mnby, and the one after that will be about Awake. From there, I'll make the connections that are needed. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the flip side.